Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all my colleagues who are here, whoever belong to senior leadership team role or middle leader like school principals, vice principals, assistant principals, then middle leadership mean any section supervisor, head of departments, inclusion coordinators, or safety in charges. Okay. So, and moreover, the most important one is because this session is directly related to teaching as well as for the assessment coordinator. So I welcome these candidates or these participants in particular. So before I start with this standard number three, we should be knowing I will just give my introduction as I always do. My name is Muhammad Anwarul Haq. Okay, I'm actually acting as I'm providing my services as educational consultant, and moreover I'm the educational leader where I have served in different positions starting from middle leadership up to senior leadership positions. So here, before we start, we'll just go through with the UAE inspection framework. As you already know, in UAE inspection framework, there are six standards. We call them performance standards. We have already covered two performance standards, standard one and standard two. So today we are talking about standard number three, which is teaching and assessment. Before I move, again, this is my, every time I go through with this thing, first of all, we must know what is the UAE national agenda. So once we talk about UAE national agenda, there are eight main features that we have to keep in mind. Two international benchmark exam, which is PISA and TIMSS, UAE is aspiring to be amongst 20 highest nation in PISA and 15 highest performing countries in TIMSS. So these are the two benchmarking exam, international benchmarking exam. Next thing is they actually focus completion of high school education. This is one of the top priority. Again, I told you like high school attendance for the UAE nationals, especially Emiratis and all other kids which are residing inside the UAE. They must ensure that they complete their high school education, and moreover, they want to bring primary pre-primary education in fact, it include even KG. Like in UAE national agenda, KG is considered as a separate phase, as everyone knows. Similarly, there should be high skills for Arabic language, like very high skills of the student they should be showing, and moreover, teachers should be highly qualified. Like we are going for TLS and leadership exams are also there. Like highly effective leadership must be there. Correct. Similarly, and university foundation program. Now, this is one of the most important part. Like in UAE, any student who is studying inside the UAE, they want this is the national agenda that they should not go into university foundation program. The school themselves they provide such a quality education that directly they go and continue with their curriculum. That's all. Next thing, once we are talking about UAE education, like this UAE inspection framework, six levels. Again, I reiterate, like there is six level scales are there, which start with outstanding, very good, good, acceptable, weak, and very weak. Similarly, once we are talking about the quantitative analysis, it is almost all which is above 90%. Most ranges from 75 to 90%. Large majority, you must be familiar with these kind of terms, like it is from 61 to 74%. Majority, it comes from 50 to 60 and so on. So these are the things that we as an educator, as a middle leader, or as a senior leadership personnel, we should be aware of this UAE in framework. Second thing which is there, like again, once we are trying to monitor the progress of any kind of indicator, we should be very much familiar with these terms. Like, three things are the basic criteria, like in line with the curriculum, below the curriculum expectation, or above the curriculum expectation. So this we have to be knowing this thing, like whichever school you belong to, what curriculum is being taught in your school, like whether it is American curriculum, you must be aware what are the criteria which is in line above or below the curriculum standards. Similarly, if you are a British curriculum school, you must be aware of these terms. What is meant by above curriculum or inline curriculum standards? And similarly, if you are CBSE or Pakistani curriculum school, so you must be very much familiar with these three terms, because these three terms ultimately they are going to determine where actually your teaching and learning is standing to take place. This is very important one, like we must be aware of. For example, I give you one example. For American curriculum school, minimum benchmark normally for the passing, I just give you some simple example. Passing marks are 60%. So if the students are scoring in this range, so we will be saying those students, they are in line with the curriculum. Those who are exceeding more than 75 and above, then we will say they are above the expectation or below the expectation. This thing varies from curriculum to curriculum and from school to school. Okay, like American curriculum, this is different. British and CBSE curriculums, it will be different kind of criteria to be mentioned here. Okay, because in American curriculum, they come in contact with like international benchmark exam. Most importantly, the map test. This is very critical for them. Similarly, the British curriculum schools, they have, they are sitting for IG exam for O level and A level. These exam results, they actually matter, and so on. There are so many other examples. Now, going directly into teaching this standard three, the first, the indicator, which is teaching for effective learning. In this indicator, there are five elements. So one by one, we'll be discussing what exactly those five elements are. So first of all, it is 3.1.1, which is teacher knowledge of their subject and how students, they learn them from the teacher. Now we are talking in terms of a teacher perspective. Okay. So if you see here, as I told before, majority of the schools in UAE at present, either they are acceptable or they are good. Weak or very weak schools, they are at the verge of closing. They are no more acceptable across the UAE Emirates. Okay, they are considering it like this was the news. And similarly, instead of moving from acceptable to good, I'm starting from good and moving upward. So as a leader, if you are senior leadership position, so you must go through with your peer review or KHDA or EDIC review report, and then accordingly you will adjust what exactly are your main criterias or main goals that you are going to set for each standard in order to achieve. So I'm actually considering good, very good, and outstanding. So you can relate it according to your situation or according to your culture in your school. For example, for teacher knowledge, if we go for outstanding culture or outstanding performance, it will be most of the teacher mean above 75 to 90% of the teacher. They apply their knowledge. They are well aware of their subject and they can apply their knowledge of the subject to induct learning into the students. Again, if you, and they actually impart their knowledge expertly. This is the word that we have to keep in mind. If I just for you, I'll just highlight, they actually make it expertly. If you see here, if you can, okay, expertly. Now, very good school, if we are talking about, then most of, again, the term remains most of the teachers, they effectively, they actually use their knowledge in order to give an environment about the subject for the learning of the students. And similarly, a good school, there will be again most of the students or most of the teachers, they consistently mean, what does it mean? Consistently means in some of the teachers, they are not following. Consistently mean they keep on doing, in one phase they are doing, other phase they are not doing, or three phases they are implementing they are very effective, and in one phase they are not that much effective. It depends upon the explanation, okay, how the inspector is going to read your school's performance. Similarly, if you go for 3.1.2, this is lesson planning. As I told you, this standard 3 is directly linked, 3.1 is directly linked with teacher, okay, teaching. So lesson planning, the learning environment, and use of time and resources, how effectively we are using it. In an outstanding school, the teacher, he or she is making imaginative lessons. This is, now think of this, like, what does it mean, imaginative? They don't rely on a particular template. They think out of the box and they come with some kind of thing which is, and obviously time management, learning environment, they just control, okay? But here, a teacher, if he or she is creating imaginative lessons, then it will help the students to learn more effectively, and more, there will be more engagement in terms of students participation. Similarly,
खाना
yeah,
नहीं खाना है
yeah,
खाओ
just a minute, just a minute. Yeah, you have a question, please? Yes, Miss Shahir Banu. Anyway, uh, you were having any question?
no sir sorry it was by
Oh,
mistake
it's okay, it's okay. So next, if we go for like very good school, that the lesson plan, it will be engaging lessons. Now, again, please remember, there is a difference of terms only. Engaging lesson, more engagements are there in the lesson, like it is more towards the engagement, and outstanding means imaginative lesson. And here in good school, the teacher, they are making a purposeful lesson. Okay, they set one particular kind of target. For example, they want to achieve like 70% of the student, they actually do this task effectively, like group work or individual task. So this is called purposeful, okay? Similarly, if we go for 3.1.3, it is teacher student interaction, including the use of question and dialogue. I have, here I have focused mainly on dialogue, okay? Dialogue work, okay? Dialogue, normally it is, we are talking in terms of student to student dialogue, between, mean peer to peer, or it can be teacher and student dialogue, okay? So here, an outstanding lesson will be where majority of the learners, they are active and they are discussing, they are keen learners, okay, for they are very they are active learners as well as they are keen learners, okay. Now here, there is insightful discussion. Mean insightful discussion mean, once you prompt any question as a teacher, they will be giving lot of things, like they will be talking in terms in different things, like they will go in detail, they will bring the questions on their own, and they will start to negotiate or interact with each other or with the teacher itself, okay. Similarly, a very good lesson will be the learners, they are keen to learn, they are keen to learn, and what they do, they go for the thoughtful discussion. Here here there is insightful discussion and there is thoughtful discussion. What is the difference between thoughtful and insightful discussion? Insightful discussion mean they have clear answer to every doubt. Thoughtful discussion means they, one of them or student, they are raising some food for thoughts, but still they have to further research upon this one. So this is a slight difference between insightful discussion and thoughtful discussion. And moreover, a meaningful discussion means once they are discussing amongst each other as a good lesson. So what is the meaningful discussion mean? They, through this discussion, they come to know about some certain facts. Meaningful discussion within the lesson, within the class, they learn something meaningful, understanding. But thoughtful, they have to go and search. And for insight mean high level thinking. At the same time, they have all the answer for each question. Okay. So if we are familiar with these three, then I will be moving to the next slide, which is again for teaching for effective learning 3.1.4, which is teaching strategies to meet the needs of individuals and group of students. Now this is again where individual task and group work. Here, once we are talking about this element, once we are talking about this element, we have to be very much clear what exactly we are looking for. Means we should know, like, what are the strategies which are being implemented, the teaching strategies which are used for different students. Like, especially you have two special category of students in your class. One are special education needs. You should be very well aware of your inclusion. Like special education needs students, you must be aware of them. What are their needs? What is their specialty? Where actually they have the problem and how you are going to tackle? What are the strategies that you are going to apply for them? Moreover, GNT, gifted and talented students, they are also one of the part of inclusion. So your inclusion coordinator, who is actually helping, she or he must be working very closely with you in order to resolve this issue, because mostly they appoint a special, inspector, special delegate, a person who is actually looking for only and only inclusion of the students within the learning environment. So once we are talking about teaching strategies, it is whether they are suitable for individual learning or they are suitable for the group task. So it should meet. So strategies that are very successful to meet the individual need. And please remember, once we are devising any kind of strategy, we must be knowing one part, like must make sure, we must make sure that we practice these strategies beforehand. Otherwise, what will happen if these strategies you are not practicing with your kids beforehand and just you are trying to do it as an innovation within the class, you are giving a kind of you are directing or you are moving towards a failure, because students, they should be aware, they should be having well practiced whatever the teaching strategies that you are using, they are successful with you. So this is hit and trial method, yeah, trial and error method. You devise for different classes, different phases, even different students, you should be having different teaching strategies. Similarly, a good school, once we are talking about a good school will, a teacher will be having strategies which are highly effective. Okay. And highly effective. And here, what was they successfully meet the needs of the students. This 100%, almost all students, they meet the need of the student. It is highly effective mean majority of the students which are special education need, gifted and talented, high achievers, okay? Even those students who are performing in the middle, yeah, so they are, everyone is getting equal benefit from your lesson. And as a good teacher, the teacher strategies are effective. Now, effective to meet the individual needs. So they are not very, very high and they are not very, very low. At least at the lowest level, they are meeting the expectation of each student, which is belonging to, which belong to, this category of special education need. Okay, it can be again gifted and talented, or it can be a special education need. We sometimes we give different inclusion. Now, 3.1.5, teaching to develop critical thinking, problem solving, innovation, and independent learning. As a teacher, because this is very, very, high uphill task for every teacher to meet these requirements. Like critical thinking should be part of your lesson, okay? And they actually, all these criteria, you can do what, like you can add all these questions, as I have learned through my experience. You can all add all these questions: critical thinking, problem solving, innovation, independent learning, especially first three: critical thinking, problem solving, or UAE, relating it to the UAE culture. Okay, or a real life application. You can make a question for each category and put them into one slide only. So in this way, you hit three things in one slide, so you don't forget during the inspection time. So outstanding teacher will be using a skillful or skillfully developed students critical thinking, skillfully, very skillfully, with a unseen manner. Okay, and here a very good lesson or teacher, he or she will be developing a purposefully. They purposefully develop some of the, uh, you know, uh, purposefully and skillfully. There is a minor difference. In skillfully, sometime on spot they make some adjustments. Purposefully mean whatever they planned accordingly they are moving according to that, whatever the lesson or question structure was there, they are moving according to their planned kind of question. And skillfully mean on the spot according to the need of the hour, they modify something, okay, on spot. So this is known as skillfully. Now, systematically develop the students, systematically mean gradually they are developing, like they start with one open-ended question, which is little bit easier. Then they systematically, they move to next level and the next level. It depends upon your skills. Okay. So in this way, now 3.1, this indicator, which is teaching for effective learning, it is over. Now we are moving to the next, which is very important part indicator, which is assessment. Now here, majority of the school, they struggle. Majority of the school, they struggle in this, like internal assessment, especially once we are talking about American curriculum schools. Their internal assessment, always they show promising result as compared to the external benchmark exam. So they have a lot of learning gaps. So this is very important. And similarly, each and every curriculum, they have their own pits and falls, isn't it? So here you have to they have their own pitfalls. Yes, so they have to go for, like according to your curriculum, according to your school, you have to see where are the learning gaps and how you can fix them. So if we go for assessment 3.2.1, which is talking, we have, which is talking actually about, which is actually talking about this thing, like internal assessments. So once we are talking about internal assessments, please remember in the internal assessment, this one, like internal assessment processes are fully coherent and consistent and directly linked to your curriculum standards, directly linked to the curriculum standards. While in the case of very good school, again, all the processes as internal assessment processes, they are coherent and consistent, and they are linked to the curriculums, well linked. Now, it is well linked and directly linked. There is something very unique. So, this is a area of big discussion. So I will just leave this point for you to just try to understand and get a little bit more insight upon these two words, directly linked to the school curriculum standards and well linked to the curriculum standards. Okay, so well linked mean the all curriculum standards are met, but not completely. But directly mean precisely they are directly linked to the curriculum standard. For example, American curriculum standard, NGSS for the sciences, and CCSS, Common Core curriculum standards. Yes, so these are the things that we have to apply for. Okay, while in a good school, again the word remain the same. The processes are coherent and consistent and linked to the they are just linked to the curriculum standards, not very, I already told you about a few terms which in the beginning of my this PowerPoint I told you there are different terms that are being used: minority, large minority, majority, large majority. That these kind of terms you have to infer them from the this UA inspection framework, and then you have to study them. Moreover, once it comes to the external benchmark exam, so these are the most critical thing. As already I mentioned in my introduction, like UAE National Agenda, which is linked to TIMSS and PISA. Moreover, external benchmark exams, which are mapped especially for, American curriculum standard. For Arabic language, there is APT, or nowadays ABT, and previously it was IBT. So these are the things for native and non-native Arabic speakers. Okay, so here outstanding student schools or they should be having the school rigorously benchmark students academic outcome rigorously, like very thoroughly they go through it. And this is what for outstanding outstanding for any external benchmark exam or national exams. National exam, you can relate it to SAT, isn't it? SAT, you can relate it. This is national exam like MCAT. MCAT, normally it is not there for UAE, but these are the SAT is actually related to the national exam in order to, some of the universities, they need SAT exam before entering into the university. Similarly, once we are going for very good level, the school is effectively monitoring the academic performance of students effectively. Okay, before it was rigorously, and school is just monitoring. Here we must remember that school is just monitoring this one like the external as well as national, all the national benchmarks very effectively. Not here, we will not be using the word effectively. They one school is doing it, isn't it? Now, if we go with these things like internal and external exam, and one more thing as a school assessment coordinator, you have to, as everyone is aware of, we have to present 3 consecutive year data showing the outcomes of internal as well as external exam, and what are the gaps, learning gaps, which we have to go for skill, what are the skills which are missing in our students in different phases, or what are, where are the learning gaps in the curriculum itself. So all these things have to be monitored very effectively by the assessment coordinator from the school itself. If we go one step ahead, now assessment again, it is 3.2.3 analysis of the assessment. Okay, every school is having the data. Data is everywhere. How you are analyzing the data to monitor student progress. So this is very, very important. Like, in all the standard, this is attainment and progress. Yes, we have to go for. So you have to make sure whatever the data that a school is collecting, how effectively you are analyzing the data and using this data to monitor the progress of the student. Like normally we go for the diagnostics and then we go for the first term exam, second or final exams and all. How you have to show the progress. If you are able to show the progress, it is well and good. So outstanding school, the assessment data is for the outstanding school, the assessment data is, if I see here, it is rigorously analyzed, rigorously. And similarly, in a school where, which is very good, the data is analyzed well. You can say it is analyzed well, mean you can say it like effectively analyzed. Okay. While in the case of a good school, the assessment data is analyzed in some depth, not in complete. They are not using the data more effectively, but at least they are using the data in some areas, some phases, some kind of indicator in order to measure the progress of the students. Similarly, this 3.2.4 use of assessment information to influence this. This is the most important thing. How you are, all the inspector as a senior leader or head of department, even assessment coordinator, they will be asking you people how you are using data to influence teaching, how your data is reaching to the teacher and teacher is trying to implement in order to get better progress of the student. This is really very important. You have to focus on this 3.2.4. Like an outstanding school will be having, an outstanding school will be having the teacher, they will be using, or school will be skillfully using very effectively the data, whatever is the data, to influence teaching. They will inform the teacher where are, and normally once it influence the teaching, the curriculum and student progress, it is, in fact, it is individualized, personalized. This is very important. Okay. While a good school, very good school, they will be doing that very effectively using the data to influence teaching. Like majority of the area, they are collecting the data and they're using it to inform the teaching. Correct? And similarly, a good school is using the data effectively. Before it was very effectively, here it is effectively to influence teaching. Okay, so there are few areas, some areas, not all the areas or majority of the areas, some area they are collecting the data and using it to inform, to improve the teaching. Now, the last part, if we go for this slide, this is very important one, like 3.2.5, teachers' knowledge and support for the students' learning. Now, if you see, there are a lot of highlights I mentioned. As a teacher, and as head of department, you should know this part. Like this is very, very critical, like how you are going to use this point. Like first of all, teachers have in-depth knowledge. The first point at 3.1.1, teachers knowledge. Okay, they use their knowledge to strengthen, and they know what are the strengths and weaknesses of their students, one thing. And secondly, they give a constructive feedback, comprehensive constructive feedback. You must be knowing this thing if you have been through different kind of inspection. Always the inspector, they ask you to submit your students' work. Normally we submit students' notebooks. So here, and you might have seen that a higher management, they always ask you give a constructive feedback, which should be including what? It should be including one strength of the student and one area of improvement, one suggestion where they are lacking the area of improvement. And so actually a sentences should be there, a constructive feedback, comprehensive constructive feedback means it is a detailed kind of, it can be generated through the LMS, school management, learning management system, if the school is having it, or it can be done through individual teacher itself. Okay, there are different ways of doing it. Similarly, a very good school, the teacher, they have good knowledge of their students, their strengths and weaknesses, and they make the lessons accordingly. And moreover, the feedback they are providing to the students, this is constructive feedback, and it is and it is involved. Students are regularly involved in assessment, self-assessment. There is one very important part before I conclude all this discussion. Are the students, they are knowing how they are assessed? This is one of the critical thing that they might be asking for. Do the students know once you are assessing them on which criteria, what are the rubrics that you are using in order to assess the students? So this is one of the important point. Similarly, a good school, the teacher is having good knowledge of strengths and weaknesses of the students, and they give the feedback, but it is not comprehensive feedback. It is not, detailed feedback. They are providing somewhere here and there. Some teachers they are doing, and some teachers they are not doing. And they normally students they are involved in their assessment, peer to peer assessment, teacher to student assessment. These kind of assessment they are always subjected to during the lesson. You know it already, like assessment for learning during the session, during the lesson, and assessment of learning, that after the session, once it is over, after the lesson is delivered, what exactly students they have learned. Normally it is more related towards the exit tickets. So in this way, I have just tried to bring a little bit insight of framework standard 3 about teaching and assessment. So in this way we are going to conclude our session. If anyone from your side who is having any question, so you are most welcome to ask me. And this recording which I have done now, inshallah ta'ala, I'll be uploading this in my LinkedIn channel, LinkedIn account, and as well as on my YouTube channel. So I'm open to everyone. If you have any questions, so please you can feel free to ask me. Anyone? So I'm lucky that there's no one that who is going to ask me. So as a teacher, once we do this part, Like it means majority of us, whoever are available now, they are knowing what exactly they are doing in the session and all. Thank you very much for your precious time that we have taken again for this session and make it, a success. Thank you very much. I'm ending the session now and have a good time. Thank you. Bye bye.